I want to tell you some clear information that came out yesterday in our meeting with the FBI and the U.S. Attorney, and something that's come forth today, and how this has become a national issue. The Imam's janazah tomorrow, but national Islamic leaders are coming to Detroit tomorrow. Bi-idhnillah. It has come to find out that during these arrests, that the FBI sent no less than 3 agent provocateurs, or we could say informants, to a small mosque in Detroit, where people live in a low-income area. And for 2 years, this agent provocateur is making provocative statements here and there. He befriends the Imam and some other people. And he talked to them and said that he knows some people who have some business in selling some things. These goods, he later told them, were stolen goods. Some of these Muslims. And this is not right. If we are on our deen, people can't trick us into dealing with stolen goods by putting into the context. This is a group, a community of people where many of them barely can even pay their rent. All these stolen goods, this person wasn't a real Muslim. He's a fake, and the FBI bought all of this stuff, all these fur coats and things, and some guns. And when the brothers went to a warehouse a few days ago, it was a trap, and the FBI came to the warehouse. And in this situation, there were 5 people in the warehouse. The FBI claims they told the people to lay down, and 4 of them laid down, but 1 of them did not, and that was the Imam. And the FBI agent said, the special agent in charge says, they released a dog. They sicked a dog on him like a shepherd. And when they sicked the dog on him, he had a firearm, and out of not wanting to be bit by the dog, he pulled out the gun and shot the dog. As soon as he shot the dog, they were ready, and they shot him, as what I've been told by a source that we're waiting to confirm, 18 times. And he never shot, the FBI themselves said he never even pulled a gun at any of the agents or even tried to shoot at any of the agents like the media said. There was no shootout. He shot the dog who was about to rip him up or bite him, and then they had their guns and they shot him 18 times. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And now, although none of the charges are tied to terrorism, and the U.S. Attorney himself said, if we had any evidence, enough evidence to prosecute them for terrorism, we would have. But at the same time in their affidavit, and what the police essentially put out, they said that the Imam who was killed was from a Sunni Islam group. They tried saying that he wanted to overthrow America and establish a Sharia. What in the world does all this stuff that they're saying have to do with some stolen fur coats and supposed mail fraud, alleged mail fraud, because they haven't gone to court and faced the evidence. They haven't been convicted. I'm not even saying they're guilty. We'll see how that goes in court. This is what was said. What in the world does having to bring in Islam have to do with this? And what in the world does that have to do with him making some statements, many of them protected by the First Amendment, by the way, even if I may not agree with some of them? What in the world does that have to do with trying to steal some coats and selling some supposedly stolen guns or FBI guns? What in the world does that have to do with terrorism with some low-income people who are barely able to pay rent? And I'm not trying to justify crime. I'm just saying in the context of how the demonization of Islam has continued to go on. We've seen many cases like this, where charities are raided, and they say the counterterrorism task force comes. The charity is never charged with anything, but it smears the Muslim community. Where people have been arrested for certain things, like Imam Rabi Haddad, who used to be in Ann Arbor, tried saying he was a terrorist. He was supporting terrorism. They had no proof of it, but he had a small immigration problem, so they deported him back to Lebanon. Or the owner of Lashish restaurant. It was accused of tax evasion and immigration fraud, allegedly, but they have a picture of him taking a picture with a scholar in Lebanon who the government says is connected with Hezbollah, so then they want to call a press conference and say, yeah, we're charging him with this, this, and this, but oh yeah, you know, he's affiliated with Islamic militants and extremists and Islamism and all these types of terms they come up with. We have to understand what we're dealing with. And as much as the Muslim community loves President Barack Hussein Obama and the first black attorney general, I'm here to tell you that in regards to these cases, they have not gotten any better. And President Obama said when he got elected that you elected me, but I need your help. And the help that we need to give him is to contact the Attorney General and the White House and tell them, people in the FBI, to stop smearing Islam and tell them that there's enough crime going on in America. You don't have to go into our mosque and spend 2 years and millions of dollars of cooking up a criminal conspiracy to entrap people. This is our right to do as Americans and as Muslims. I just spoke about the hadith in the first part of the khutbah. عَدْلٌ سَاءَةٍ خَيْرٌ مِنْ عِبَادَةِ السَّنَةِ. Being just in 1 moment, in 1 hour, is better than a year of spiritless worship. And we mentioned the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that mentioned our community being overtaken because of al-wahan, because of the fear in our hearts. Due to hubb dunya, love of materialism, and the fear of being cut off from that material life. If we can't stand up for justice for our own, if we cannot stand up for justice for Islam, then really what are we doing? What are we here for? Especially when we have the opportunity, for the most part, to speak out freely. And we have the right to assembly, freedom of speech, and to petition our government.